Our next speaker is the lovely and talented Marife Zamora. Of course, I'll just tell a bit of a story here, if you let me. Just a bit of background about your career, just so people have some. But she started also in the IBM organization, which is interesting that so many good people, it seems, came from or through that organization. Marife was another one. Did very well with that group for many years. She then was recruited to run another organization called Headstrong Philippines, which at the time was certainly a very highly respected IT provider and one of the first doing IT outsource work in Philippines in a high quality manner. So she ran that group for a number of years. And then she got a call from what was then called a call center organization. It was a large one, or a good quality one, called Convergys. And I think that because of her background, she kind of wondered, well, why would I work for a call center organization when I'm an IT gal? But anyway, she was convinced to do this, and at the time, Convergys was a small organization. I can't remember how small it was, but a tiny, minuscule organization. In the next few years, it grew monumentally at a rate that I have never seen an organization grow. Certainly, the industry as a whole grew, but the Convergys organization grew faster than anybody and became what is today, I understand, 35,000 employees it's hit. The largest private sector employer in the nation. So please, a hand for our Convergys friends here. So, okay, you come on up. Marife Zamora named Global Filipino Executive of the Year, Asia CEO Awards last year or the year before. She, her career, of course, recognizing the success of the Philippine group. Her own people have moved up to very senior positions. Now Filipinos run around the world, bossing people around in this organization. Marife runs around Europe, Middle East, and the Asia region, bossing around people in a very nice way. I'm sure she does it. And so it's become, what I understand, is certainly one of the most senior Filipino based in Philippines, that we have. So really quite a story. And in keeping with the innovative approach of Convergys, she's decided to have her talk as more of what I think was called a conversation with Marife, and that's the format you'd like to use. So please welcome Marife Zamora.
Good afternoon. I assume that you have been barraged with a deluge of leadership tenets from 7 illustrious men. So we would like to set the tone differently. I'd like to call on stage Nika Pasis, who is the Regional Sales Senior Manager for Corporate Communications of Convergys. You know, I'm a maverick. I always would like to do things uniquely, differently. So what we're going to do is just have a chat. Right, Nika?
Hi, thanks Marife for giving me the opportunity to have a conversation with you. So as you said, today we'll talk about life.
My life.
We'll talk about love.
My love.
And since we're dealing with insights on career and business, we'll talk about women in the workplace.
That's right. So, here goes. Girl Abunda.
Yeah, I feel like the girl version of Boy Abunda. Okay. But it's very interesting. So, Marife, everyone knows you. You are an exceptional leader and a fearless Filipina. What was your childhood like?
Oh, I would like to tell any young girl out there who is a geek in school, I was a very serious geek in elementary and high school. Geek was not invented during my time, but I would presume that would mean somebody who does nothing but study. I entered school at the age of 5, grade 1. I was accelerated when I was in grade 2 to grade 3 and got into UP at the age of 14. So it works out. So please tell your daughters and even your sons that really all they need to do is to study harder.
Wow, okay, great. So, speaking of insights that you've learned from your childhood, how has your family shaped your perspective about, you mentioned about studying harder, but life in general as well. So how do you think your family has influenced your perspective in life?
You know what? I grew up with parents who are so focused on doing well and doing a lot. I'm the black sheep of the family. All my brothers and sisters graduated valedictorian. I graduated salutatorian. Yeah, I'm so fortunate to have the values that have been passed on to me by my parents. You know, strength of character and sometimes a sense of mischief. My father is tough-minded, and my mother wasn't a very patient woman. If I complained that I was bored, she would tell me, "Oh, please go and help someone, anyone." So she'd say, go to your tia son and help with the cooking, or go to your sister's room and help with her homework. You know, my parents both had very deep commitment to do something to the world. So to this day, when I'm feeling sorry about myself, I try to look for a good deed to do.
So it's always about altruism
Yes.
and trying to help someone else. Okay. So you said that you wanted to talk about women in the workplace. That's a
Right.
topic that you're very passionate about. And you yourself, being in a CEO role, right, with your global responsibility as managing director for Asia Pacific, Europe, Middle East, and Africa, can you share with us some insights and advice for everyone, right? Not just for the women, but for everyone in this room, how best to pursue your dreams and emerge at the top?
You know, I'm very fortunate to be with an organization that's run by women. Our CEO is a woman. Our head of global operations is a woman. I report to her. And the country manager for the Philippines is a woman. You know, the one thing that needs to change for women to succeed in the workplace is not the workforce itself. You know, we all seem to take pride in the fact that the Philippines is a very maternalistic society. But do you know that what maternalistic means is that it's the women who do everything, right? Yeah, exactly. So, for example, if a couple works full-time in this country, the woman does 3 times the child care and 2 times the house care than the man does. Correct? Yes. So we really need to change expectations of who does what and how. Right? Now, let me tell you a story. My son is married, and I have a 1-year-old grandson who is the love of my life. My son didn't change diapers at the start, so I had to teach my daughter-in-law to let him do half. Let your husbands do half. Let your husbands put on the diaper front, side, back. You know, yeah, let them do half and learn from it. You see, I see a lot of women correcting their husbands for doing the wrong things to their children, especially to a baby. My God, if you keep on doing that, your husbands will never share in the responsibility. So let them do half.
And do it their own way.
Yeah, I have another story. You know, my brother said to me once, he said, "I am babysitting." And I said to him, "Dude, you're not babysitting. You're a father. You're fathering, parenting." And he hasn't said that to me ever. Yeah. So we need to live in a world where men do half and women allow their men to do half. And also, that parenting is not a full-time job for a woman and a half or part-time job for a man.
So those are very...
Applause, please, from the women.
I think there's a lot of realization going around, so that's why it's a little bit overwhelming. And I'm sure, Marife, the global statistics say it, right? And we don't have to cite global statistics. We can just look inside this room, around this room, and know that there are still very few women who occupy key decision-making skills. You know, we're still largely a men-dominated business
Nika,
arena.
what I did was to ask Rena, PEA, to look at all the members of AmCham and count the number of women CEOs who are not COOs or child of owner. And my God, yes, do you know that there are less than 20 women who are leaders in the workplace in AmCham? And I would presume, if you look at the top 1,000 corporations of the country, it's going to be a number that's going to be mind-boggling and discouraging for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know that for many women professionals, one of the things that I often hear, and you know, in Converges we have a lot of women, right, is how do you deal with work-life balance? That's like their number one concern. I'm a woman professional. I would love to grow my career, but how do I deal with this thing called work-life balance? So what do you have to say about that?
You know what? There's no such thing as work-life balance. There's work, and there's life, and there's no balance. Yes.
So can you elaborate on
but
that?
The most important thing that I would tell everyone is this, and I'll tell everyone I meet this: if you want to marry a man, marry the right one. Yes. And when I say yes, find someone who's going to do half, right? Find someone who's going to support your career and not one who's just going to tell you, oh, yes, I allow you to work. I'm supportive of that. But then he has to get up and change the diapers at midnight because that is what it takes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Marife. So you've mentioned a lot of key insights that will help not just women, but everyone who's aspiring to grow in their careers about, you know, what are some tips to pursue your dreams. So speaking of dreams, because we know that you've achieved so much and you've helped Converges become what it is today, when you were starting Converges operations in 2003, what was the dream like for you as the leader of our company?
You know, I believe in Converges, that it is going to change lives, and it has. You know, when we started, it wasn't all about business. It wasn't even about commerce for its own sake. We only wanted to do one simple thing, and that is to help the Philippines. It was all about something important, significant, and had real impact to our countrymen. Employment, keeping the family together, and improving their quality of life. You know, the story of Converges is about 37,000 men and women today who are helping the country or driving the country to greatness. You know, it's an extraordinary journey that I've been fortunate to see unfold from the beginning. At the start, actually, I thought that we were a small and medium enterprise. I remember that when I was first interviewed for Converges, they told me that I was to build 2 centers in the Philippines and hire 8,000 people. But then, you know, we dreamt big. Our dreams were just enormous, such that today we have 37,000 employees operating in 22 centers across the country, and we did that in 10 years. By the way, we're celebrating our 10th year anniversary today. So the story of Converges is really a story of passion that extraordinary things are possible.
Okay, thanks, Marife. I know that has really been a remarkable growth because we were just telling our friends in the press 35,000, but we're now 37,000
And
a
it's a
couple of weeks later, and we're still continuing to grow. And that's really driven by the dedication of each and every one in our team. So thanks for sharing about how we have started. And so it seems like the expectations have been different when you started and as you helped the company grow. So what are some of the experiences that you can cite alongside the growth story? Let's talk about an anecdote that was about realizing just how big the impact was. And this is a story that you tell pretty often, and I think it's very interesting to share it again to this audience. So share a little bit about that experience.
Actually, Nika, I have two stories.
Oh, two stories.
All right. The first story happened in 2006. Maybe during that time, the world already knew about Convergence and the good things that we were doing in the country. I got a call from Business Week, and I was told that they wanted to interview me. So the next week they came over. The business editor came, and a photographer was with him. My God, they took my picture. They took photos of me on top of a building. I even had a photo on top of we went to the jeepney loading area in Washington Street in Castle City. They made me stand on top of a jeepney. They took about 500 photos. And of course, I was thinking, with 500 photos, I'll be in the centerfold of Business Week. And when a magazine came, I just had a photo as big as this one. So the lesson there is, do not set your expectations high. But my daughter told me, Mom, you've arrived. You're in Business Week. The second story is something that I told the Manpower Complement of Convergence during our 8th year anniversary. One Sunday morning, I was at home and my phone rang. And somebody on the line said, Ma'am, this is a call from Malacanang. And I said, oh my God, what have we done? So, wow. So when I said hello, it was the president. And he said, Marife, I just saw this bus with your McDonald's ad, and it said, you're growing to 30,000. And I was laughing inside, and I just replied, and he said, can you grow to 50,000? So I just replied to him, and I said, Mr. President, you're more aggressive than my boss. Yeah. I also sent him a confidential message on Facebook and told him that his call was the highlight of my year. But of course, I don't think he reads that. So after that, I realized that, maybe we were making a dent in the marketplace. Plus, I was watching TV, and he was asked about economic growth, and he said, 2 months ago, I inaugurated the building of Convergence at San Lazaro, and I just read today that they're opening up two more centers in Alabang. So, if that is not economic growth, I don't know what is. So, I definitely take great pride, together with the 37,000 people today, from Convergence, about what the country has done for us and what we continue to do for the country.
Okay. So it seems that there's a lot of learning that you've gained in terms of riding that journey of growth. It's very exciting. It's full of surprises. You always have to change, or you don't necessarily have the same expectations when you start, but you have to adapt along the way because that's how growth is. It can be quite messy. So any other insights you can share with our folks here today about your experience with growth as you've grown in your own career?
Just like Noel Mendoza, the best advice that I ever received is from Andrea Ayers. Andrea is the president and CEO of Convergence Corporation, and she told me, you know, Marife, growing is a much better place to be. And that's true. Growth creates careers. Growth attracts and retains people. It is definitely better and always better to take a more junior position in a company that is growing than a more senior position in a company that's not necessarily a growth one. Let me cite an example, Hilda Del Rosario, who is today our head of HR. When we were interviewing her for the job, she was actually the GM of an IT consulting company, and at the same time, she had an offer to be the CEO of another company. And she took the job with us. She has had 2 promotions during the 4 years that she has been with us. And what I can say is that she cared about what the company was doing in the growth prospect than she cared about her position.
So, Marife, she was offered a CEO job. At the time, we were offering her a director job for HR, but she took the director position because she looked at the bigger picture and looked long-term.
That's right.
Wow. And that's really because of the growth, right? You're talking about growth being a better place to be, even if
Exactly.
it can be quite messy and there's a
Right.
lot of challenges and you have to navigate through that. So that's very interesting. So thanks for sharing that anecdote as well. So Marife, this has been a short but very amazing conversation. So in closing, and especially with your passion about women in the workplace, what are some of the few takeaways that you'd like for us to remember about how to make extraordinary things happen, whether it's in your personal life or in business?
You know, I told myself I was not going to delve in anything relative to leadership or success factors. But yeah, talking about the journey of Convergence, I think it was all because of one thing: focus on excellence. We did not compromise on talent, on process as well as tools. So at the end of the day, if you go for the best, you get the same. And as my parting shot to all the women and to all the men too, the world is going to be a better place if 50% of the house care is being done by men and 50% of the business care is being led by women. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Marife.
Sign me up. Okay, very good. Thank you very much, Marife. Lovely.